Monday! Welcome to another Mindset Breakthrough Day with Sandra Bravo. I'm in Gold Coast of Australia, and we're here thanks to Success Resources and Tony Robbins. And you have probably watching this, I think it's about 45 episodes by now. So wherever you are watching this today, you can just scroll down and watch all of the previous episodes, because we just bring a tiny little mindset breakthrough to you every day, and they all stack up to create the big momentum, the big breakthrough. And I'm super excited today. I don't know where you are. It might be Monday morning for you if you're in Europe. Could be afternoon if you're in Australia or Asia, or it may be really late at night if you're in America or Canada or Mexico. And I'm really excited today because I have a very special guest. I've been telling you for the last few days at the end of last week that I was going to have you today. So I'm super excited because I'm finally here with the wonderful Mike Wolf. Mike, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much for coming to share your wisdom with us. And Mike is based, tell us where you are, Mike.
I'm from Calgary, Canada. Normally I'm a nomad, but COVID kind of put a little bit of a damper on that. So I am hunkering down in Canada right now.
Nice. So he's struggling with the cold, loving the heat over here. And normally it would be so easy for either of us to jump in a plane and go and explore each other's countries, but obviously not right now. However, I'm very grateful for technology because it allows us to do this. It allows us to connect with you wherever you are in the world. Let us know your name, where you're watching, whether you're tuning in live today or whether you're catching the replay of this. And it allows us to connect like if we were right next door to each other, just without the touch, right? I'm a physical touch kind of girl, so that's the only part that we can't do with Zoom yet. You never know what's going to happen. So Mike, tell us a little bit about you and what you do so that our wonderful audience today can get familiar with you.
Sure. Well, I've been a real estate investor for about 31 years now, so before you were born. And over the years, I've done, my teams and I, we've done thousands of real estate transactions, but I've also done a whole bunch of other entrepreneurial ventures. I've had pubs and a tomato sauce company and a furniture company. These days, thanks to COVID, I have actually created a year-long coaching program for people that want to learn how to invest in real estate. So I've done a lot of different entrepreneurial ventures most of my adult life.
Wow, you must have started when you were young, very young.
Well, I was definitely, I wasn't that young. I started when I was 24. Now I'm turning 55. So most of my life, that's what I've been doing, and it's been amazing. I mean, definitely some ups and downs, but it's been. I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Nice. So it's gonna be Mike's birthday in a couple of weeks. So make sure you connect with him on social media and send him a happy birthday wish. And Mike, were your parents entrepreneurs, or where did the entrepreneurial spirit came from?
Actually, they weren't really. My dad was actually a psychologist, and he, as time went on,
for success.
Well, I mean, my parents were always bugging me to be a doctor or a lawyer. That's really what they wanted me to be. And I kind of discovered, I actually was going to school initially to become a lawyer. And then halfway through it, I had a whole bunch of student loans after I got my first degree, and decided, you know what, before I go get the next degree, I want to pay some of these off. And I discovered real estate investing totally by mistake. And, basically told my parents, no, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. And they're still kind of pissed at me to this day, but that's all right. I found my own path. And that was kind of, when I discovered real estate investing, was the first time where I kind of knew what I wanted to be for myself. Everything up to that point, I was kind of living my parents' dream for me. And so, but yeah, my dad eventually started to invest the money they made from being a psychologist into real estate as well, and did very well with it. And he eventually retired from psychology through real estate. So that's the irony of all that.
Nice. Imagine how fulfilling and joyful, I guess, it would be for you to know that your dad did that when you're the one that went into real estate, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of gave me some insight into a few things. We never really did real estate deals together or anything like that, but Anyway, it kind of fell into my lap, not because of my dad. It just kind of fell into my lap while I was trying to pay off my student loans, and got really, really lucky on my first real estate deal. Totally by luck. It had nothing to do with skill. I had no idea what I was doing. And, made a fair bit of money on that first deal, and then managed to lose most of it on the next deal because I really didn't have a strategy. I was just winging it and hoping that I was going to, the first time, sometimes when you have success by luck, it's actually a double-edged sword. On the one hand, yeah, you had the success, you had a taste of the success, and it makes you want to keep doing it. But on the other hand, if it was by luck, you can't duplicate it. It's just like winning the lottery. You might win the lottery, but buying another lottery ticket doesn't mean you're going to win the lottery again. And so basically went from having a very successful deal to having a very unsuccessful deal to becoming a know-it-all. At first I was a know-it-all. I thought I knew everything there was to know about real estate investing, to having a very humbling experience. And once I had that humbling experience, then it kind of forced me to go and educate myself and find mentors and find other people that would pave the path before me, and learn from their wisdom instead of just trying to wing it. And that's the only reason why I'm still doing it today, is because I had a very humbling experience, got other people to help me, and invested in my education. Otherwise I would have been wiped out and probably living my parents' dream for me today. So
yeah, I love it. I've heard that, when you become an entrepreneur or start a business, the worst thing you can do is make $1 million in the first year, because then you're not equipped to handle it, right? This is what happens. So I thought your dad went into real estate because of you, or
no, he didn't go because he actually was doing it before me, but he never taught me how to do it. He never really, my parents didn't really want me to get into that. Even though he was successful at it, they wanted me to have something to fall back on, make my, be a professional, make my money, and then maybe invest my money in real estate. They didn't want me to do that full time, even though my dad was doing pretty good at it. Like I said, he actually quit. Later on, he ended up quitting his psychology practice just to do real estate full time. So, but it wasn't because of me. I wish I could say, but I wish I could say it's because he saw my success. But I think they were actually worried about me because, especially back then, I was very, very shy, and I wasn't really the person you'd expect to be successful at real estate. I wasn't like a negotiator or any of that stuff. But anyway, I was very persistent. And once I had a taste of that big paycheck, that was the first time, like I said, that I really knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I thought, okay, I'm going to make this work one way or another. And, so when I had that first failure, after that big success, when I had that failure, I had already quit my job. I had a job at the phone company I was using to pay off my student loans. And I once I had that success, I just quit the job almost immediately. My mother was driving me crazy, saying, no, get your next degree, and then you can always go back into real estate. Get your next degree so you have something to fall back on. I said, no, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. And then when I had that big loss, I didn't tell them, and I also didn't want to tell my mother, you know what, you're right. I should have got my next degree. So instead, I thought, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to make that money back. I'm going to become successful at this. And instead of telling them, I'm just going to show them. I'm going to, because all my friends around me were saying, you're not going to be a real estate investor. You're not going to be good at that. You're not cut out for that. But once I had that paycheck, I was determined I was going to get more of those paychecks. And so, one of the things about me, if somebody tells me I can't do something and I'm not going to be successful at it, then I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong. I'm going to show them that they're wrong. And so I just figured it out, but I had to get other people to, basically show me exactly how to do it, because like I said, the first one was totally by fluke. I just had really good timing. I was very, very fortunate, and I thought I figured out how to win the lottery. I thought I could do it over and over again, but it was totally luck. There's no skill.
I love it, and I love the rebel attitude. So when you had the failure after that, you had already quit your job?
Yeah, I got my first degree, got a job at the phone company because a friend of mine, his mother was a manager there, and it was government run. It was union, paid really well. And so while I was there, that allowed me the ability to get, mortgage to buy my first properties. And so I was working at the phone company, bought real estate while I was working at the phone company. When I bought that first piece of real estate, I wasn't really anticipating becoming a real estate investor. It happened by mistake. My mortgage broker called me up, and I had bought my first home to live in. And then he called me up shortly after and goes, Mike, you're making good money. Your credit's good. If you want, I can get you another mortgage so you can buy another house. And I go, why do I want another house? He goes, well, Mike, you put a tenant in there and they pay off your mortgage for you. And, 25 years from now, the home is clear title. You've got no mortgage on there. That's your retirement plan. The home will go up in value. You'll still be able to collect rent. I go, that kind of makes sense. And so that's what I did. But so originally that property was meant to be a long-term hold. But as luck would have it, the market just took off and things skyrocketed. And all of a sudden I was sitting on a whole lot of equity in my residence and in my investment property that I never intended to buy. It never occurred to me I wanted to be a real estate investor until the market took off. And then I remember thinking to myself, okay, in the last 2 years that I've had this property, I made this much at the phone company and I made this much in real estate, and I don't even know what I'm doing in real estate. So if I could do that by mistake, like what would happen if I learned how to do this on purpose? But I didn't really learn how to do it. Instead, I just thought, okay, well, I just have to buy property and then, the market's going to take off. But then once I quit the job at the phone company, it kind of occurred to me, one, I don't have paychecks coming in anymore steadily. And so I can't wait 2 years. I went from having a long-term approach where it's like, hey, I'll just wait till the market takes off. And originally I was meant to be a 25-year hold. I was meant to hold that till I was, even longer, retirement age. And but once I had a taste of that paycheck, I got kind of greedy and I thought, okay, I need to do this like every 60 or 90 days. I want one of these paychecks. And it was a 6-figure paycheck. So I was thinking, if I can just do this a couple of times a year, I'm set. And I'll make a lot more than working at the phone company. But I wasn't really equipped. I didn't know how to do it. I just, back then I was in my mid-20s, so my ego got the best of me, and I just thought, obviously it's because I'm obviously cut out for this, and I've got the skill set. It was none of that. I just had really good timing. The market did its thing, and all of a sudden I made this money, but there's no way to just duplicate luck. And so that was the first time, though, when I got that paycheck, when I actually saw the equity I had and got that paycheck. That was the first time that I knew what I wanted to do. And I go, I am going to be a real estate investor, and this lights me up, and this is something I enjoy, and I don't want to have to go sit in an office all day ever again. And I didn't really know how to do it, but I just thought, well, how hard can it be? Look what I've already achieved. But that was a really bad way to look at it. And so now I teach my students, don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all. And so, I wish somebody would have told me that when before I quit my job, and said, hey, you know what, if you learn how to do this properly, you can make a career out of this. But if you screw this up, you're going to have to go back to your mother and tell her she was right and that you should have gone back to law school. So that's how it worked out.
I love that. And Mike, you mentioned something really important about, your parents felt safe with the whole belief of go to school, get another degree, get educated and keep going, which I find it's a very common belief amongst our parents and previous generations. And so over the last few days, we've been talking a lot about limiting beliefs and how they can get on the way. And obviously there's no one better in the planet than Tony Robbins to help you release those limiting beliefs and replace them with more empowering beliefs. And I know you've attended UPW more than once, so you want to share with us your experience and how long ago did you attend UPW? What did it do for you and your mindset?
Yeah, well, it was huge. So I've done it 3 times now, and then I've gone on to do Date with Destiny. I've done a lot of stuff with Tony, and he's awesome. But the first time I did it, to be honest, I was a little bit skeptical, and I wasn't really sure what to expect, and I'm not really a rah-rah kind of person. So I didn't know if I was even going to enjoy it. I absolutely loved it. But it shattered a lot of my, I was already fairly successful in most people's eyes by the time I had gone even for the first time. But I had a lot of pretty big breakthroughs there. Were you
still in your 20s when you went to UPW or 30s?
No, that was only the first time I did UPW. I'm almost 55. I would say it was maybe a dozen years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago. I wish I had done it. In hindsight, I wish if I would have had that when I was starting out in real estate, that would have been a game changer. I would have, anyway, I'm not complaining. I'm very grateful for where I'm at, but I can't even imagine having been equipped with that kind of knowledge back then. But it did shatter a lot of my beliefs. I remember the first time when day one, and I know obviously you can't do this right now in the virtual world, but day one when they're talking about walking across those hot coals and being a fire walker, it's like, I'm not doing that. There's no, and he's talking about, oh, it's all in your mind, and, you know, mind over matter. And it's like, you can, and I thought, I don't know. Anyway, at the end of the day, you know, my friends were all doing it, so I really couldn't chicken out. I had to do it, and I did, and didn't get burnt, and it was amazing. And I mean, it makes you start thinking, well, how many things do we have in our mind that we think we can't do, that we want to talk ourselves out of, that we're not going to do because we don't think we can, and then we actually can do it. And so that really opened up some possibilities for me. I really found that really beneficial. But there's so many things, you know, in those 4 days, there's so many things that just, you know, blew me away. Like just realizing what you can achieve if you put your mind to it. You know, for me, like I said, I was always, you know, really shy. That was one of the things that really, there's other things too, but that really helped me come out of my shell quite a bit, and kind of just change the way I view myself, and, you know, what I can achieve. And there were just so many great takeaways that I decided I needed to do it again. And I really wanted to take my daughter. My daughter's now, she's 25 now. And I took her, I think she was, the second time I did it, excuse me, I think she was 17 or 18. And so I took her to, we went to New York, and went to UPW for the second time. And she absolutely, she came out of that a totally different human being. And I would recommend to anybody, like, bring your, you know, let your kids experience this. She even said to me, you know, Dad, like this, I think I learned more in 4 days. I got more in these 4 days than I have in all the years I've gone to school. And I'm thinking, like, I wish I would have had that when I was younger. So absolutely, you know, expose your children to all the positivity, and just, you know, being in that environment, hanging out with other people, working on themselves and doing their own personal development. It's magic. Magic happens when you go to stuff like that. So I can't stress enough how big an impact it's had me on how big an impact it's had on me and my family. And then I went back a third time, and because I have a friend of mine that I thought, you got to go to this. And so every time I go, I get something different out of it. I get, even though it's, you know, it's the same training, you're not always ready to hear certain things, and you're in a different place. And when you're in that different place, you pick up something else. You think, did he teach that last time? And sure enough, he did, but you weren't ready for it. And so, you know, don't only attend it, but re-attend it.
Yes, I totally agree. You're not the same person that you were the last time, and there's always another layer of the onion to peel, and a deeper level, you know, to go to. And I was talking to a friend who, he has been a member of the Platinum membership with Tony Robbins, which is a very exclusive, you know, group of mastermind they belong to. They pay like $100,000 a year, and he's been a member for 8 years, renewing and renewing and renewing. And I'm like, I said to him, so do you get the value out of it? And he goes, oh my God, like 10 times fold, because he goes, my businesses grow, I'm a better person because of it. And he just can't imagine his life without being part of that, right? And I know, I mean, I wish, like Mike said, that I was exposed to all these when I was in my teenage years. Imagine how different those years would have been. And I believe that the teenage years are like the toughest years in anyone's life. Like apparently, you know, teenagers, that's when they produce the biggest amount of cortisol in their brain, which is a stress hormone. So they feel everything more than kids or us adults. And that's when they're discovering, I guess, you know, the body is turning into an adult body, their mind and their decision making and all of those things. So what an amazing gift. I know for me, when I did UPW 10 years ago, my girls were little. And I just remember thinking after doing the firewall, like, I can't wait to come back with my kids one day, right?
That's amazing. And yeah, I think it should, you know, personally, I think it should be mandatory. Everybody, and this should be something taught in high school. Every single high school kid should go through UPW. And I think this world would be such a better place, and people be happier and more fulfilled. And I think it would be just awesome. So that's my recommendation. So
I agree. Let's make it compulsory. And that's the thing, because those are the years where you can go this way or you can go that way, you know, depending on the things that you're exposed to, people that you surround yourself with, and the influence that you have. I mean, Tony Robbins always says you're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with, and many teenagers end up hanging out with the wrong people at that age. I know for me, I mean, my daughter just is 13, so I guess I'm a new parent into the teenage years, and I know for me is this thing of the friends that she hangs out. I want to meet the parents, because I just want to know if the parents who are involved, or if they're the parents that don't care if the kid is, because at this age they start to move themselves in public transport, which is not my favorite thing to do. I'd much rather drive my kids to and from, but for them it's a novelty to be able to get on the train. But I see it all the time, like if the kids are getting around the whole day by themselves and stuff, I'm like, where are the parents? Like, are they even involved? But I know as soon as Alana turned 13, I rang Michael Lane in Success Resources Australia, and I'm like, she's a teenager now, can I bring her? I want to do UPW with her, which we were supposed to do in September, and we still did it, but it was virtual. And I don't know if you know, Mike, but right now with the UPW Virtual, instead of the firewall, we're doing the woods breakthrough exercise.
Right. Also very cool.
Yeah, I have the little video of Helena do it. We did it here in my office, actually. And it was just so cool to see how, Tony Robbins prepares you, primes you for the experience. And so she's all fired up, ready to unleash herself. And you kind of think, well, what kind of limiting beliefs can you have when you're 13? Like, you're on top of the world, you're ready to eat the world. And she, so it was really cute. She thought about it, and then she realized her limiting belief was, I can't earn money because I'm too young. I'm only 13. Mm. And then, the other side of the wood, she wrote the opposite, the positive of that. And then she went for it. She was so fired up that she's like, oh, what is the next piece of work? I want to do this again. And I'm like, that's only one, and you already smashed it. But do you know what happened? It was so magical, Mike, that after she did that, I swear within 2 weeks, all of a sudden, she had a couple of new clients who come from my group of ladies, my clients. One of them, she's teaching her Instagram one-on-one. And so they get together 2 or 3 times a week for an hour, and she teaches us how to use Instagram for her business. She's in Melbourne, and then she got another client of mine that became her client, and she's teaching her Spanish. And so they deposit the money in her account, and so then she's telling her friends, do you know what, when I did this Tony Robbins thing, like my limiting belief was, because what happens in Australia or here in Queensland where we live, you need to be 13 years old and 9 months to be able to get a job like the typical McDonald's or Hungry Jack's kind of job. So a lot of her friends are already 14 or 15, so they're already getting jobs. So for her, it was like, no one will give me a job because I'm 13. I still have to wait 9 months. And so then she's telling her friends, well, I don't even need to leave the house. I've been on a road trip holiday with my mom, and she would pull out her computer and like, Mom, I have my coaching call at such and such time, and now she's like, she gets paid more than her friends who are going to actual, physical jobs, I guess. And so she's bragging to her friends that it's because she did the breakthrough exercise at UPW, which I think was magical.
Love that entrepreneurial spirit too. That's so cool.
Yes, yeah. And do you know what's one thing I love about you, Mike? Because Tony Robbins always talks about the whole success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And we so many times see it, like people that achieve a certain level of success, whether it's financial or in many other ways, but they're not fulfilled. They're empty, they're miserable, they're angry, they're not happy, and all of those. And unfortunately, it puts a limiting belief on the people that haven't reached that level of success as to think, oh no, that's why I don't want to be rich, or that's why I don't want to do well, because such and such that I know, they're not nice people, they're angry, or they're this or they're that, right? And it's like, well, the fact that they're like that doesn't mean you have to be like that. Like, money only amplifies who you are. But you're a great role model, Mike, for showing, demonstrating by example how much fulfillment you have, because it's not just about the success. Like you've created an amazing lifestyle for yourself. You're you're rich in every way because you get to do what you want. You get to travel, or did before COVID, to travel all over the world while your business is still ticking, and your investments are still working. You volunteer a lot to help others. And so you created a success that comes with all of that fulfillment and joy, which equates to real success, not just on one side of the equation. So why don't you talk about that for a bit?
Yeah, well, I think if we would have had this conversation, 15 years ago, in terms of wealth, most people would say I was very successful. I had lots of money in the bank, but I remember, and I had a huge house, and I had fancy cars. I had all the every toy you can possibly imagine, and all my friends were jealous of me, but I didn't really feel lit up. But I go, this is what I worked so hard for. Like, the media makes it look like once you got this, your life is perfect. And I remember, I just remember coming home some nights, and I had this big house. And back then I was married, and my daughter would be up on the top level in her bedroom. My wife would be on the middle level in the kitchen or living room, and I'd be down. I had a walkout basement, and that's where my office was. And I'd be I don't know, it just felt really, really empty. And I didn't really know what, I thought, well, what's the next step? If I worked this hard to achieve, I've done everything that people told me to do. I got my degree, and I did this, and I did that, and I learned how to make money, but I wasn't fulfilled. And I just remember thinking to myself, well, like, if this is what the rest of my life looks like, yeah, it's great for the ego that my friends are jealous, but this isn't really what I signed up for. And actually decided to take my daughter out of school, and we actually traveled around back then I was married, like I said, and me and my wife and my daughter, we traveled around the world for 2 years and put all my stuff in storage. And during the 2 years, I met I had so many lessons along the way. I met so many incredible people in all different cultures, all different walks of life. And I started to look back on how I was living, and didn't really want that. As time went on, I didn't really want that lifestyle anymore. When I came back to Canada, I remember looking at all the stuff that I had put in storage and thought, I don't want any of this. This isn't what's important to me. And then it kind of became my mission to go, and I changed my currency, I think, for money. And I'm not saying don't throw away your money. Keep making money. You absolutely need it. It's like oxygen. It's essential. You have to have it. That gives you your freedom. And it's what you do with that freedom that really determines, to me, whether you're really successful and wealthy. Having the money is one piece of it, but I changed my currency for money, and I really changed the things that I do every day. I changed my currency from money to happiness and fulfillment. And so every day, I wake up, and first I practice. I like to write down all things I'm grateful for. I think gratitude is extremely important. But then I think, well, what would make me happier today? And how can I add more value to somebody else today? How can I help somebody else? And so anyway, you fast forward, and these days, prior to COVID, I pretty much travel full time. So a lot of times I wake up, and if I don't like the weather, I will literally hop on a flight and put myself in my happy place, which usually involves sunshine and beaches. So you're very lucky to live in Australia, because I don't have a lot of that in Canada, unfortunately, especially in the winter. But so I do a lot of that. I do a lot of volunteering. I've taken my real estate skills, and after Hurricane Katrina, for example, built a team and fixed up a whole bunch of homes as a give back project, and brought people back to the city. We brought water filters to places that don't have clean drinking water. Gone to orphanages and not just donated money, but also my time, hung out with the kids and played with them and brought them gifts. Just little things like that. And I've realized that when you have that sort of stuff, and I also, by the way, spend a lot of time with my own grandkids as well. And I'm in a position now where I've learned to put the money on autopilot. So I'm not chasing the money. The money is coming in on autopilot. So I can do all these things while the money is still coming in. I didn't say I'm going to go and live poor. I'm going to live a life of being destitute now just to chase fulfillment. I think it's important to have all that. But to me, my definition of wealth has changed a lot. And I learned some of this from Tony too, by the way. He talks about that, having, financial wealth, but not having your health, not having the right, relationships and friendships. And if all those things aren't really in balance, you might have lots of money, but it's very easy to become miserable. The example that he gives that I love is, you talk about Robin Williams. From the outside looking in, I mean, this guy had fame and money and he made people laugh, but he couldn't make himself laugh. He was miserable. And we all know what happened. It's very unfortunate. And so to me, I feel like every day I feel energized and I'm excited. I'm looking at all the things. And even during COVID, once again, I'm practicing gratitude. Even though I'm not doing all the traveling that I normally do, it's allowed me more time to go and give back through, I've created a lot of content to share my knowledge and help other people with the financial stuff and creating wealth in all different ways, not just monetarily. And so I look at COVID as being a gift. It gave me some more bandwidth to do things I wouldn't have normally done. And so I think when you look at things from that perspective, as opposed to, and I know it's difficult because I know some people who don't really have a lot of money and they think, oh, if I just had lots of money, all my problems would go away. I assure you that's not the truth. Do try to, create wealth financially, but then also make sure you have that balance and find ways to, the more you give, the more you get back. I don't do it for that reason. I don't give expecting anything in return, but I can just tell you that the universe, when you put stuff out there that helps other people, you just kind of get in this flow where you can almost do no wrong. Everything you do just kind of falls into place. So these are things that I've learned over many years of trying to figure myself out. And Tony's working on yourself, working with Tony, going to UPW, going to events like that, doing personal development is really where you discover what makes you tick and what lights you up and what you need to be fulfilled and happy. And if you kind of leave those parts out and you just even if you get really good at making the money, I have a lot of friends that are very, very wealthy financially, but I know a lot of them that are absolutely miserable and they don't really like their lives. When you're broke and you don't like your life, then at least you kind of have hope. You feel inspired. Oh, once I make that money, I'm going to be happy. But when you have everything that you thought was supposed to make you happy and you're still not happy, then it's really tough. Well, what's that next step? And I remember thinking that to myself like almost every night. Well, okay, I did everything I was supposed to do. I achieved everything that my friends and family and media told me that I need to have to be happy. And here I am not feeling happy. So it's very important to keep all that stuff in perspective.
Wow, I totally agree. You're so beautiful, Mike. I could just listen to you all day. And, Tony Robbins always says you can get to the top of the mountain and admire everything at your feet. But if you're alone, it just means nothing. Like you turn around and it's like, you know what, this is so magnificent, but oh, I haven't got anyone to share this moment with, this special moment. And as you said, the more that you give, the more you get back, but in fulfillment, because the joy of being able to change someone's life, the joy of knowing that you made a difference in someone's life today, regardless of how small or how big it was, that's what fills up our cup. That's what we live for as human beings. And so, I love what you said, just keeping the perspective of it comes with both. The wealth and the success is one thing, but it must come with the fulfillment and the joy of loving what you do and knowing that you're making a difference in someone else's life. So, Mike, I could just keep going all day, but I'm very conscious of your time. You're very generous and very kind to come and talk to me about UPW in my life. And if you don't have your ticket yet, we have UPW with European hours on Thursdays, starting on Thursday. So this is the last day that you can get your ticket if you don't have it yet. It's UPW Virtual with the man, the legend himself, Tony Robbins, from the comfort of your home. You don't have to buy airplane tickets and security lines and hotels and all of these expenses. You don't have to pay $2,000 or $3,000 for your ticket and then another $2,000 or $3,000 for your spouse or your loved one or your kid, because you can just do it for a few $100s now, and you can just buy one ticket, get your best friends, get your kids, get your teenage kids and your loved ones, and do it together in the comfort of your home. So if you don't have your ticket yet, go. Don't walk, run and get it. Bringthefreedom.com, because it's the last day you can get it. I'm going to be there. I look forward to seeing you, and you will get the opportunity to learn from Tony himself in the comfort of your home. So, Mike, thank you so much for being here with me today. You are so full of wisdom and love and energy, like it just comes through. What would you like to say to put a bow to this?
Well, first of all, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I just want to say, right now I see so many people, with COVID, they're struggling mentally. They're going through, a lot of people are going through turmoil right now. And so I say, use this time instead of just watching Netflix all day. And it's easy to get caught up in that. Instead of that, use this time to reinvent yourself and work on yourself. And I think a lot of people, if they do that, 5 years from now, we're going to look back. And as weird and maybe even morbid as this might sound, COVID might be the best thing that ever happened to you if you use this time wisely. And I know 5 years from now, I'm going to look back and say, okay, I remember when that 1 year where I couldn't really travel, but here's what I did during that time. And so make this time valuable. Be grateful for that extra bandwidth and time that you've got. And if you haven't done UPW, I would don't miss it. It's a game changer. And bring your whole family. I'll do it together. It's magic.
Yeah, I agree. It's certainly been a year of growth and reconnection with myself for me this year. So absolutely get your ticket and stay tuned, because I'm going to have Mike on another interview just to talk about his stuff, so that you can find out more about what he does and how he can help you. So stay tuned for that. But for now, just go get your ticket for Bring the Freedom. Let's work on your mindset first, and then we can work on the strategy of wealth creation. So thank you so much, Mike, and thank you for tuning in. If you've been tuning in every day, we've been I think we're nearly on the 50th episode. So I look forward to seeing you at UPW. And on behalf of Success Resources, Tony Robbins, Mike, and myself, Sandra Bravo, signing off from Gold Coast of Australia. And we'll see you at the next one. Bye for now.